The formal coordination between the United Kingdom and France on nuclear deterrence, announced in July 2025, is a defining moment in European strategic affairs. This agreement signifies a shift toward increased European military independence and highlights the emerging priority among Western European powers to secure the continent's defense posture amid growing global uncertainty. For the first time in history, the only two sovereign nuclear-armed states in Europe have publicly declared that they will act in coordination to deter, and if necessary, respond to the most extreme threats facing their nations or the European continent as a whole. This move was not made in isolation. It comes in the context of growing tensions with Russia, a visible decline in transatlantic cohesion, and repeated signals from the United States, particularly under the leadership of Donald Trump, that long-standing NATO commitments may not be guaranteed in the future. The war in Ukraine, which continues to shape European defense policy, has prompted many European leaders to rethink their reliance on the NATO nuclear umbrella, a system which, in reality, is almost entirely dependent on US-controlled nuclear forces. The prospect of a weakened or divided NATO, combined with the increasing capabilities and assertiveness of adversarial powers, has driven countries like the UK and France to explore pathways to reinforce nuclear deterrence without depending solely on Washington. The joint statement released by the British and French governments asserts that both countries will respond jointly to any extreme threat against Europe. While this is not the creation of a joint nuclear command or shared arsenal, it is a declaration of strategic solidarity. It means that any threat to one country's vital interests will now be interpreted as a threat to both, and both may respond, including, if deemed necessary, with nuclear force. This strategic alignment adds weight to each country's individual deterrent by showing unity in decision-making, increasing the complexity of calculations for potential adversaries. Both countries operate credible, survivable nuclear forces. The United Kingdom maintains a continuous at-sea deterrent (CASD) with its fleet of 4 Vanguard-class ballistic missile submarines (SSBNs), each armed with Trident 2D5 missiles supplied through long-term cooperation with the United States. These submarines ensure that at least one boat is on patrol at all times, providing round-the-clock second strike capability. France operates a similar fleet of 4 Triomphant-class SSBNs, equipped with domestically developed M51 missiles. What makes France's posture unique is its complete strategic autonomy. It does not rely on foreign technology or approval for the use of its nuclear weapons. This independence gives France a flexible nuclear policy and significant deterrent credibility. The UK, though technically independent, has relied on US support and technology for decades, particularly through the shared operation and maintenance of the Trident system. However, with growing political debate in the US about foreign military obligations, the UK's dependence on American platforms has become a vulnerability. This is particularly visible in the UK's plan to reintroduce an air-based nuclear capability using US-owned B-61. 12 nuclear bombs mounted on F-35A aircraft. The delivery of these weapons would still require US authorization, underscoring the limits of British autonomy in nuclear operations. In contrast, France's air-launched deterrent, including the ASMP-A missile and the future ASN-4G hypersonic system, remains entirely under French command and control. The ASN-4G, which has been in development since 2016, represents a major leap in air-based nuclear delivery systems. Capable of flying at hypersonic speeds, greater than Mach 5, and at ranges over 1,000 kilometers, it will give France a powerful and modern nuclear option that is difficult to intercept. The missile is expected to be carried by advanced variants of the Rafale fighter and possibly by future aircraft developed under the Franco-German-Spanish Future Combat Air System (FCAS) program. By potentially joining France in missile development, the UK could gain access to a modern and autonomous nuclear air-launched capability, reducing its reliance on US-controlled platforms like the B-61. Beyond strategic platforms, the agreement also includes industrial collaboration. The UK and France will co-develop replacements for the Storm Shadow and Scalp EG long-range cruise missiles, which have been extensively used in the Middle East and, more recently, by Ukraine in its defense against Russian aggression. These missiles have proven their effectiveness and are viewed as essential to long-range precision strike missions. Although initially designed as conventionally armed, there is potential for future variants to be nuclear-capable, offering further flexibility and resilience in both nations' strategic arsenals. Additionally, the UK is working separately with Germany to develop a new long-range deep strike missile system with a range exceeding 2,000 kilometers. While officially a conventional weapon, The capabilities required for such a platform, advanced guidance systems, stealth features, survivability, could make it adaptable to nuclear missions. This kind of dual-purpose development reflects a broader European trend, developing conventional systems that can, if required, be modified for strategic roles. Operationally, the agreement opens the door to more structured collaboration in several key areas. Both countries are expected to enhance their intelligence sharing mechanisms, early warning systems, and nuclear command and control procedures. Joint military exercises may now include simulated nuclear planning or delivery missions. Naval cooperation could increase, with French and British submarines receiving support from each other's fleets during patrols or maintenance periods. This could include sharing naval bases, refueling facilities, anti-submarine warfare escorts, and air and surface surveillance capabilities to protect their strategic submarines while on deterrent patrols. In the air domain, France and the UK could coordinate aerial refueling, training, and escort operations for nuclear-capable aircraft, especially with the reintroduction of this capability into British forces via the F-35A. Collaborative planning could also extend to targeting, although each nation would still retain final authority over its own nuclear arsenal. Shared intelligence and coordination could ensure that each has a clearer strategic picture in times of crisis. Politically, this agreement also sends a message to other European powers. Germany, which is part of NATO's nuclear sharing program but does not possess nuclear weapons of its own, has expressed growing concerns about the future of the US commitment to Europe. Political figures like Friedrich Merz have called for more serious dialogue about European nuclear security, including possible shared arrangements with France and the UK. The willingness of France to coordinate its nuclear policy with an ally for the first time in decades signals that Paris may be open to broader European defense integration. This agreement could serve as the foundation for a future pan-European deterrent framework, one that retains national control over weapons but enables deeper cooperation, burden sharing, and strategic planning. It may even pave the way for a future where certain European nations, while not possessing nuclear weapons themselves, are protected under a Franco-British deterrent shield in a more formal and structured manner than the current NATO nuclear sharing model. The long-term implications of this agreement are profound. It sets the stage for joint investment in next-generation weapons systems, greater political leverage in global arms control negotiations, and a stronger European defense posture independent of shifting US policies. It also reflects a hardening of nuclear doctrine, particularly in the face of unconventional and emerging threats such as cyberattacks, space-based weapon systems, and hypersonic missile proliferation. By aligning their nuclear policies, the United Kingdom and France are not just reinforcing their own security, but reshaping the future of deterrence on the European continent. They are sending a clear message to both their allies and potential adversaries, that Europe will not be left vulnerable, and that its nuclear powers are willing and able to act together if their sovereignty, security, or vital interests are challenged.